What's going on there, YouTube, and welcome back to another comic book video. Okay, guys, so we are basically going to continue our coverage over the Reign of X era of X-Men comics. And matter of fact, we took a small break. And actually, we're still on that break because we're covering the Hellfire Gala Event. Yes, and this is part 4. There are going to be a lot of parts, guys. Please forgive me. But basically, right now, or back in the past, Marvel gave us this strange event. And the reason why I say it is a strange event, because basically, this book or this entire storyline was not no huge crazy cosmic event or some kind of storyline where the world is completely changed forever. No, this was kind of like, hey guys, we're Marvel Comics. The X-Men have been slowly taking over the world, and this is them saying, hey, we, the mutants, are no longer second class. We, the mutants, can basically make the earth better. If you stop hating us and actually work with us, then you can see that we are something great to have next to you. It's them trying to build the bond with the human race. And so what Emma Frost and the rest of the mutant race did had this huge event where they have basically invited the humans to come see some high key important humans to see what the mutants have accomplished so far and what they're going to do down the road. Now, we do know in the earlier chapters, something happened where basically the humans left so surprised with what the mutants did. Now, we still have no idea what that was, and we covered 3 parts. Now, with that being said, we covered Hellions, Marauders, and X-Force. Now it's our time to pick up with Excalibur to see how they're doing in the middle of this event, because this event is affecting all the X-Men teams in different ways. So with that being said, here is Excalibur in the Hellfire Gala Event. Now, before we dive deep into this storyline, there is some things I do want to remind you guys, and that is Richter. So guys, real quick, refresh. So basically, Richter was a character who's been around since the 1990s, right? But basically, in this series, he was very close to Apocalypse. Now, the reason why, because when it came to Richter, when we first saw him, his powers was going crazy. He could not control his powers. Now, with that being said, though, you basically had Apocalypse stop by to kind of help Richter control his powers. And ever since then, Richter was able to control his powers, but he thanks Apocalypse for that. But with Apocalypse being gone, Richter hates the idea that everybody on the island have basically moved on. He feels like everyone should kind of be sad and depressed that Apocalypse is no longer here. But in reality, that's life. You have to move on. But is Richter not okay with the idea that everyone has moved on? And so to Richter, he feels like everybody has just forgotten Apocalypse, that no one cares that Apocalypse is gone. But again, that's not the case. It's just that everyone had moved on. Now, of course, you do have some people who actually do feel like Apocalypse did a great thing, but at the same time, you do have some people who feel like Apocalypse did nothing good for the nation. Now, with all that being said, Richter does run into Shatterstar. Now, this is very important because these two characters do have a small past with one another, of course, saying that they are basically exes. Now, of course, Richter is not really happy to see Shatterstar, and Shatterstar is kind of like, hey, Richter, give me a second chance. But of course, Richter does not want to give him that second chance, and so you have Richter step away, as of course, you do have his dear friends, Excalibur, kind of watch over him to make sure that he stays far away from Shatterstar. Now, the next page is really more of a celebration for the new X-Men team. And what I mean by that is basically when it came to X-Men comics, once you had Jonathan Hickman take over, you had a lot of different X-Men teams. X-Force, X Factor, Excalibur, Marauders. But when it came to the X-Men team, that name right there wasn't really a X-Men team. It was just that you had all these different teams, but no main X-Men team. And so what the Hellfire Gala event is doing right now is introducing this new X-Men team. Now, with this book right here, we can tell who is going to be one of the members of that team. And of course, it is Rogue. Now, the rest of the team, we have no idea, but of course, we'll find out down the road. Now, while the party is going on, well, that is the moment you do have Bessie Braddock run into Pete Wisdom. Now, Pete Wisdom is basically one of those guys who works for a secret government team in Great Britain. Now, with that being said, though, Pete Wisdom is coming to Bessie Braddock to give her a warning. And that warning is that right now, the United Kingdom does not like her. Because you have to remember, Bessie Braddock is Captain Britain at this point in Marvel Comics. But the problem is, though, thanks to X of Swords, that massive crossover we did a while back, Bessie Braddock technically died. Not really, but she kind of did. But either way, while she was gone and before she came back to life, Great Britain began to hate her even more. Now, they kind of already did hate her because she was a mutant. But of course, when she disappeared and Great Britain did not have their protector, they basically began to hate her even more. And so you have Pete Wisdom telling her, hey, listen, the Coven of Aqaba, which is the main bad guy group of this entire series, had basically told Great Britain that you are not even British, that technically you're now from Krakoa. And so with that, the hate even built up even more because they feel like if you're going to be Captain Britain, you have to be British. Now, with all that being said, that is the moment you basically have Bessie Braddock find out that the Coven of Aqaba and their leader has been invited to this event. Now, this is huge because right now, the Coven of Aqaba is trying to become ambassadors for Great Britain. And matter of fact, I want to say they already are. Now, we do jump into a meeting that takes place later on between Charles Xavier, Emma Frost, Bessie Braddock, and also Ruben, and I cannot pronounce his last name. Now, Ruben is basically the ambassador of Great Britain, but also the leader of the Coven of Aqaba. Again, the main bad guys of this entire series who want to get rid of the mutant race, but also they kind of work for Morgan Le Fay, who's right now being held hostage by Bessie Braddock's brother, Jamie Braddock. Either way, though, right now you basically have Ruben informing Charles Xavier, Emma Frost, and Bessie Braddock that the alliance between Great Britain and Krakoa is no longer there. It is completely gone. Now, of course, this is huge because technically, you do have some countries out there who don't really work with Krakoa, like Russia. But Russia is the only big country. Other countries are working with Krakoa, the big ones. But with Great Britain kind of stepping away, that is another big country stepping away from Krakoa and their alliance. Now, the reason why Ruben is doing this, because again, he hates mutants. He hates Bessie Braddock. He hates the idea that a mutant right now is Captain Britain, their protector of their country. And so right now, he wants to remove every single thing he can that basically belongs to mutants. Their gates, their medicines, and of course, their Captain Britain. And so this is him beginning the process to hopefully get rid of Bessie Braddock. Now, the thing is, though, he wants King Arthur to return, who has not been seen for years. But of course, he wants that king back and not Captain Britain. Now, we do get this random setting where basically we pick up with the other brother of Bessie Braddock, Brian Braddock, who is right now with his wife. And of course, his wife's name is Maggie or Megan. I forgot because I always get her and their daughter confused when it comes to their names. But basically, Maggie is kind of like a half mutant, half fairy. But of course, she is from other world. Now, with all that being said, it seems like a very sweet moment. And you do have Nightcrawler kind of appear in the room. He's very happy for her. And of course, we have no idea why he is happy for her. But we are left to believe that there is a possibility that she could be pregnant, but she hasn't told Brian yet. And so you do have Nightcrawler leave before he does find out what they were talking about, which of course is that she is pregnant. Now we do pick up with Ruben, Pete Wisdom, and the rest of the Coven of Aqaba. Now, this is not Pete Wisdom actually being part of the Coven of Aqaba. Instead, it's really more of Ruben forcing Pete here. And the reason why, because with Ruben being the leader of the Coven, but also being the ambassador of Great Britain, he kind of forced Pete to come here, with him being the ambassador of Great Britain. But either way, though, this is Ruben telling us his master plan, that right now they're going to do a ritual, and they're going to use this ritual to basically free Morgan Le Fay. Now remember, Morgan Le Fay was the main bad guy at the very beginning of this series. And on top of that, the Coven of Aqaba, they worked for her, and they're trying to bring back their queen, their leader. And so what they're going to do right now is a ritual. But for this to work, they have to kill off a mutant. They have to spill mutant blood. And of course, that mutant blood is going to be Pete Wisdom. And so before he's able to actually escape, he is killed off. They basically use him as a sacrifice. And when his blood spills, of course, the ritual works. Morgan Le Fay is free again, and that is huge because the thing is, she was locked away in Jamie's Braddock basement, and she kind of got replaced by him in her kingdom. He took over her kingdom, but now with that ritual right there, she is basically free again. And with her being free, that means in the future books for Excalibur, it is going to go down. She's back to get revenge. She's back to make sure that Captain Britain possibly dies, because she also hates mutants with a passion. And so with that being said, this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. So please leave me a like down below and subscribe. Also, if you have any suggestions on books I should read, well, please let me know in the comments below, because you never know, your suggestion could be a future video down the road. But guys, I'll see y'all next time. Later.